So, what happens when you want to make a Gundam game based on the game engine that you feel has missed potential, but get the rights to a bunch of 60s, 70s, and 80s magical girls instead?
Something that surprisingly...
The official title... Okay, also let me guess. Toys for Bob does not have their burping clowns logo for this one. Oh.
自然界の魔法の力マナを使い妖魔を作り出し人々を困らせていますどうかお願いです力を貸してください
Do I need to raise my hands for it? No?
Don't you see, Tio?
So anyway...
It's the anime girl asking you, the player, to help them!
So anyway, yes, what we could consider a spiritual successor to the Unholy War. Welcome to Majokko Daisakusen Little Witchy Mischiefs for the PS1.
Basically a crossover of anime. Wait, is that the girl from...
Oh, very old school anime particularly.
Made by the ever so popular Japanese development company, Toys for Bob.
Again, that's why I'm questioning, why is there not the logo with the burping clowns?
They didn't have that at the time.
Also, I'm pretty sure I saw a panty shot in there somewhere.
Yes, you did.
Anime.
So
Thanks, Japan.
So who remembers all these animes anyway?
I mostly, because most of these have never exited Japan and only got released in my country because we're spoiled motherfuckers in that kind of regard.
Yeah,
so,
like you
Well,
and
you
the
did
guy...
say your country's full of weebs.
Yes. I will try to be the best.
Your company was the lucky one to get a dub of School Days, apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
So, yeah, this is a... So, yeah, at least in terms of a developer timeline, this is quite possibly the biggest tonal shift I've ever seen from a developer from one game to another. Like, you go from a game about aliens fighting machines in brutal hard war.
Oh boy, Chappie the Witch.
Magical girls.
Oh, Cutie Honey, I actually remember that one.
Cutie Honey is the one that I have also most memories of. It's actually pretty nice. So it was actually from one of the top dogs of old school animes and mangas, Go Nagai. You cannot diss that.
I think Cutie Honey might be the only one I recognize of these, though.
Go Nagai has been surprisingly versatile because he did stuff like Mazinger Z for the kids. Then it scared the shit out of everyone with Devilman. And then there was this.
The basic... Oh, sorry, what voicing, yeah. We got Akko-chan.
So why'd you choose her?
It was random choice generator.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. You don't... I guess it's a matter of perspective.
Yeah,
Really?
her gimmick is mirrors.
For a supposed tomboy, she dresses rather femininely.
Late 60s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of these animes are between the 60s and the end of the 70s, Jova. Like, this is very old stuff. Also, Comic Sans.
You can't
For the
escape
English
it,
bits,
Theo.
anyway.
Bracelets.
The only Latin characters font in it to use Comic Sans.
Isn't it beautiful?
It was 1999.
Please, what a curse.
Comic Sans Bill's character.
So, okay.
Shiro, it's associated with a skeleton, so it literally does not do that.
So despite you choosing to play as a certain character, you still, like in Unholy War, get a party.
Yes.
I guess
it's
consisting
small
from supporting characters.
Yeah, it's small to start with, but it gets bigger. Okay, I should explain the gameplay. It's Unholy War. You still have the pieces on the board, and you still move around, and you still fight enemies, and you can still use those. But instead of these little spots on the ground to gain power, you're going one of those little pyramid things there. The color. The color is how many bits and how many times you can use it before it runs out.
Let me guess what changes with each character. Based off of which character you choose, you get, like, you know, party members from, like, their own respective series.
Yes. Yeah. But, on the game board, the frame rate does kind of tank a little bit.
Okay, might as well actually, unless some download thing will happen. In that case, Dwibs, please tell me. But while we're at it, let me talk instead about the anime event. This particular character that Dwibs has chosen, is attached to. So why not? Himitsu no Ako-chan, which in my country is called the Magic Mirror, which roughly enough, it's tied to it. The correct
Oh,
translation
yeah,
would have been Akko's secret.
Oh yeah,
Yes, Dwibs?
this guy. I love how the animated department.
Chunky boy.
Yeah. Get it? He's so chunky that when you stop, his belly wobbles a bit.
I mean,
Jiggle
that's
jiggle.
Yeah, that's a typical animation trick.
The original series, as in the anime, was the original manga was actually done in between 1962 and 1965, but the actual anime series between 1969 and 1970, so very fast actually. But in my country, it arrived in 1984, and we sadly only got 86 episodes out of 94. I actually don't know why, so don't ask me for a particular reason while we're at it. Some particular series. Despite us getting a lot of complete series, a couple of times we did not adapt a couple of episodes because there were still some kind of censorship rules applied. Also horns.
Yes. Okay. Now, in case to some members of the audience, these character models, again, the ones after the from what I understand, take the appearance of the of some people of some monsters from Cutie Honey when they're static. Toys for Bob, I'm guessing, didn't have that much of a budget outside of reskinning everything and adding a few more bits and pieces here and there for the character models, because for the enemies, the TFB used the monsters from not just Unholy War, but Pandemonium, which was released in Japan, albeit it's called Magical Hoppers, and the main characters look different.
So question, Dwibs.
Which was also Bandai.
So question, Dwibs, before I continue with the Mitsunako-chan. Okay, you got to manage to know how to translate properly the dialogues for the game, which is pretty neat. How did you actually got to know how properly to play the game?
I played Unholy War. It's pretty much the same thing almost.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the only difference is that it has a hidden RPG mechanic and mini games, one of which we're about to see.
Mini games, lots of mini games.
And the mini games are pretty simple. It's in this case, pick up the good apples, but if you pick up a rotten one, it'll go against you.
Basically, and you have a time limit.
You do these mini games to pick up experience points to level up your characters.
Very generic sound effects.
Oh, and in case you're wondering, by the way, this music in the background right now, Unholy War.
It's very fitting.
Yeah, because okay. My guess is, based on they're using music from Unholy War and the instrumentation in some tracks is a bit similar to that. It doesn't credit the composer, but I'm guessing it's Berk Treixman from Unholy War. The music for this game. Basically, all the new music tracks are in game at least are for the map levels and the title screen.
So Dwibs,
I love the victory pose where she goes basically the YMCA.
So Dwibs, with how this playthrough is structured, are we going to see playthroughs from all the characters or whatnot?
No.
So what changes? Do they each get their own unique story mode, or is it literally just the story mode's the same, just, oh, you have this different cast for out here and there?
Yeah. The story's pretty much the same across all. The only thing that's different are the intro cutscenes.
I'm loving the translation so far, by the way. Akko's mascot got stronger. Not Akko herself. The mascot got stronger.
I should explain. As for the translations, audible ones I asked some very good people over at Reddit to do. Text ones I use Google Translate.
So, I'm curious, so as crossovers go, do the characters actually interact with one another, or is it literally just, oh, hey, we all fight these enemies from across our series and
They interact.
Oh.
Now, as for the story, considering that basically an evil witch from outer space has apparently broken free of something, and these two other witches from outer space, good ones, have called on our heroes here to try and overcome the threats.
So let me guess. The interactions that the characters get are the same. The difference is just the order of which they get added to the party each time, based off of which campaign you choose.
Pretty much. The order varies depending on what character you pick.
So does this one actually... So does this game actually get, you know, an ending cutscene, unlike Unholy War, which didn't really have a story?
Oh, it has a ending. I'm not so sure whether I call it a cutscene, but
Oh god, it's still images, isn't
It's
it?
probably a still image that says thank you for playing or something.
Okay, I'm willing to guess that Bandai didn't give Toys for Bob that big of a budget.
I do notice that this does seem in some ways a bit more stilted than Unholy War. That said, it is doing, well, I don't know if I'd call this the most ambitious thing, but essentially what we have are 2D models on a 3D plane, essentially.
But they become 3D when you move them.
Yeah.
Huh, how interesting that is. I can't, okay,
Alright, so...
would you consider this game more ambitious than Unholy War, Dwibs?
Well, yeah, it's an American studio tried to make a game made exclusively for Japan with one of the weirdest development cycles I've ever heard of. Okay, to elaborate from what I said at the beginning, Toys for Bob made Unholy War, and they were ultimately very proud of it at the end of the day. But one thing they felt was missing was a more in-depth story mode. They had it in mind, but it got cut at the last minute. However, a bit after that, they decided, you know, we've got a good engine on our hands here. Let's go to Bandai and pitch to make a Gundam game, SD Gundam.
Yeah, you know.
So they went to Bandai, and Bandai said, "Oh, we love the idea, but we've got an even bigger license for you." So they signed a contract, not knowing what they were going to make, and they waited near the fax machine to find out what they were going to get, and they got little girls.
You know what's ironic is that Gundam probably would have been the better thing to back. Like, okay, I know maybe back then they couldn't have imagined how big Gundam would be, but, you know, I'm gonna go on a limb here and say that Gundam probably would have aged better than, well, these animes that barely anyone remembers. No offense. It's
well,
just...
they still have a strong in Japan, but you have to remember, Joe, that, you know, this was done just for that country alone.
Honestly,
and
too,
it was more of a...
even going by Japan stuff, I don't see as much memorabilia for.
Well, let me refresh you then. What we were just playing, Himitsu no Ako-chan, got a live-action movie in 2012.
How neat! And as for the others,
well, we'll see soon enough. But what my point, Jova, is that Japan has a very long memory when it comes to even these kind of old series. So.
Remember, Jova, Doraemon is still going despite being stale as shit.
Also, well, Doraemon is pretty much their equivalent to The Simpsons.
Also,
so, no surprise there.
Also, the Shadow Side Yokai Watch movie was surprisingly in continuity with one of the other long-running series, one of the Japan's normal long anime-running series, JJ no Kitaru. Well, there is that too.
Okay, you know.
Also, yet another 1999 Japanese game where you fight evil giant caterpillars. How interesting. That was the trend at the time, apparently.
I mean, I guess the only... Sorry, go on.
To continue the development oddities, basically while Toys for Bob were working on the game, they had to keep in contact with Bandai, but unfortunately there was a language issue. Toys for Bob couldn't understand them, Bandai couldn't understand Toys for Bob, so at one point they got to the... Well, they were trying to translate documents thanks to the help of the wife of the president of the company at the time. They translated one thing as Japan 70 years ago. So they made a 1920s Japanese town as part of concept art. But then they showed it to Bandai, who were like, no, we wanted 1970s Japan.
Oops.
Yeah, and needless to say, that kind of thing went back and forth. And it got to the point where
makes you wonder how the deal even got...
technical... Bandai had these weird technical requirements. It got to the point where one of them was like, can you fix this issue where someone keeps randomly unplugging the controller and opening the disc tray in and out?
Wait, what?
You told me ask Bandai, and eventually Toys for Bob was so weirded out by everything they just turned the fax machine off and they were done.
Hey, Toys for Bob, my kid was playing your game and he dropped the disc and broke it. Can you fix that, please?
Honestly, it makes me wonder how they even managed to get the deal in the first place if they had that much of a trouble understanding each other.
You know, I'm starting to believe that the rumors back then that someone in South Korea actually got injured by a StarCraft 2 disc that was spinning too much were actually real or something.
So,
I mean, that's the thing. That apparently, Bandai were having this made to coincide with a new set of captures, capture things. Those things you put in a coin. Those things you put a coin in the machine and turn it around and you get a random toy. They were doing that as a lead-in. They were doing this as a lead-in to that. Although, if my guess is maybe they just couldn't find a developer and just.
Here's one of the aliens from Hollywood.
Yeah. This right here starts the whole weirdness factor of this game. We're having an 8-year-old girl go against the piranhas from Unholy War.
Honestly,
Whatever,
that's not too weird.
Whatever, Dwibs. Japanese games do this crap all the time.
You'll be surprised, Dwibs.
This wasn't made in Japan, remember?
Okay,
It's a Japanese property, though.
It's fan content, so it doesn't count that much. But there's like this hilarious page that is on that showcase Isaac Clarke from the protagonist from Dead Space, ending up in Jampari Park from Kemono Friends. And by the way, like it's not even like a Western, but it's a Japanese fan artist. That was pretty clear. That would be neat.
Still, though, from what I've heard, this game, despite being practically tailor-made for Japan, did not do as well as it could have, apparently.
I mean, from what I've heard, it did okay.
But not enough to get Bandai Namco rushing back to Toys for Bob for a sequel, it seems.
That kind of thing probably would have been a one-off even if the game did sell gangbusters.
Also, some of these properties did got an anime revival around this time, like the aforementioned Mitsuno Ako-chan. So I get the idea they wanted to capitalize on that as well.
And yet they forgot Minky Momo.
Now we're getting characters from Sally the Witch, the first of this run of Magical Girls.
Mm-hmm.
So when do we get the protagonists interacting with one another?
Not in this part, I don't think. We'll get it later on.
This is actually, Sally the Witch is actually one of the very first Mao shoujo kind of stories.
The only one I'm vaguely familiar with.
It was inspired by Bewitched, which was very popular in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder, like, how good is the crossover aspect in this game, would you say?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you that exactly because, like Toys for Bob, I never heard of most of these franchises.
Well, okay. I mean, like, well, okay. How well do they do in interacting with one another for a crossover? Like, well, I mean, you don't need to know the franchises to at least know that, you know, they are interacting.
I think so. Again, I couldn't tell you properly.
Yeah, this does seem like a weird game, and granted, like most crossovers, unless you're familiar with a lot of the franchises, you might not get them. I mean, okay, to be fair, crossovers are normally meant to get people introduced to new franchises here and there, you know, maybe get them interested. This, however...
I get the idea, Jova. This was made as clearly as a product just for Japanese consumption anyway. Remember that we have very different standards when it comes to what to expect, what to have, you know, and how a product should be structured. So
that being said,
like for something like this for them could just be legitimately fine.
Maybe, but we have to remember that we still do uphold stuff to standards here, and while they do have their own standards, a lot of what
No, Jova, I understand that for us it's like that. I'm just guessing that, you know, for the time that it was made, there was a reason for it, and that it's market.
Well, okay, so how were the sales of this game?
don't know. There's never been officially released.
Yeah, no real series figure. Well, that's okay. I can tell you this because I did check Jova. The game was not actually released for any kind of system, just for Japan, because sometimes this kind of thing tends to happen. If I had to guess, it's because of licenses. Because again, being a crossover with these kind of world properties, gathering the license again these days might be kind of a pain in the ass. Well, again, I don't know that much anyway.
Oh god,
anyway,
that would be such a painful twist if this game got an HD remake before Unholy War.
Also, Dwibs, just to know, what was the Sonic music that you used before?
Oh, that was the speed up theme from Sonic Adventure.
Theme from SA1.
Okay. Anyway, Sonic the Witcher in my country got translated identically with the title. Let me check the actual release dates.
That's for re-release. It'll be released in a multi-pack with the other game.
There we go. In Japan, the TV series was from 1966 to 1968. In my country, it arrived in 1982, but the first 17 episodes apparently did not get broadcasted, so only 92.
Pick up dogs and cats.
Oh no.
Yay!
Yeah, I mean, again, I know this was made for Japan, but speaking as someone who played Unholy War, it is a bit weird to go from killing aliens to picking up cats and dogs on the street.
Also, these sound effects, man, so
Also,
generic.
the proportions of the buildings compared to the character.
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean,
very stylistic.
Are the magical girls giants in this world?
Perhaps.
See, they're
Even
screaming
the
because they're
animals
running
are
away
bigger,
from you.
so it's...
Maybe this is the Japanese.
Also, even if you're picking dogs, the icon is still representing a cat.
Hey, but at least you can use your broom to fly.
That's just a picture for animal.
Fuck you.
Hey, this is accurate to picking up actual animals in real life.
So, Tio,
You need to fly over
hey,
them.
What other video game can you think of where you pick up animals in a regular city with Unholy War music in the background?
Okay, not with Unholy War music, but with, I think the closest we got to this is that awful Switch game, Room Night in the Sky or something, or whatever it's called.
Maybe.
But, Tio...
Oh, I did well enough. I got double XP.
So,
Yes,
Tio,
Jova?
as the guy who's a fan of these shows, would you say that this game is representing them proper?
Again, Jova, I only mostly have experience with Cutie Honey, and even then it's not that much. I know a couple of these basically by fame, but sadly I do not have like that direct experience.
Sally's punching is stronger.
I do think that
Striker's returned!
Basically, yeah.
I do think that there was a missed opportunity with this game. Like, they could have honestly have just, brought this game overseas and try and get the Western folk more interested in these series, which could then have made their series do better in the West here.
Okay, to be honest, Joe, a couple of these series did not release
Okay.
They don't reach the States in the first place.
Well, that's
so, I mean, this as the introduction might have been even more risky than usual.
One thing that is kind of funny, at least to me, is that one of the animators of this game actually has his own webpage. His name's Robert Morrison, and he basically did the animation for Unholy War and this game. And he went on to do the animation work for games such as Resident Evil 7, Injustice 2, and God of War 2018.
Huh.
I will give this game this. The music is a bop. Some of it
the reused music?
Some of it sounds straight out of Crash Bash. And yeah, come to think of it, I think I recall saying that while playing Unholy War.
That's the thing, and basically, Jervis, like I said before, if the music isn't in these parts or the title screen, they're taken from Unholy War. I'm guessing Bandai didn't give them much of a music budget.
Anyway, let me
admit though, it's hard to gauge if this was even a success in Japan because I don't really see the Japanese bringing this game up a lot, and it hasn't gotten like a re-release, surprisingly.
Well, I mean, it'd be funny if I can imagine it now. Someone gets to remake Unholy War, and then after they're done with that, Banco come knocking and say, "Could you remake Little Witchy Mischiefs for us, please?
Okay,
we promise there won't be any language barrier problems this time."
Sally is the witch's latest product that she had got.
Now we've got to collect the garbage that appears one by one in the river. Give
to
life
save
to
the flowers. The Sally the witch's latest product that she got before this game was on OVA in 1990. So it actually had been. And it was even discovered, this kind of thing, apparently this year in February 2021. The fact that there was this OVA. Interesting.
So how exactly does collecting the garbage off from the river give life to the flowers that are in the
Because
soil?
we're not getting polluted, I guess?
Yeah, because you see the H2O bar there. If it runs out, you fail. And basically you have to pick up the garbage, and when it flashes red, that's when it's taking health from the water.
The evil garbage is sucking away.
Of the water, of course.
I mean, I can imagine. You remember, because that's the thing though, Bandai were giving Toys for Bob level design documents, and they had to implement this into the game somehow. And so they had to come up with, wait, why is there a mini game where we have to pick up garbage from the lake?
So the water gets hurt,
it's all part of the mastery and mystery of these anime series. Now do your jobs, puppets.
But we can't understand what you're saying.
I love how in the transition between
you can't understand
the
what we're saying.
I love how in the transition between minigame and back to the main area, the character just stands there looking blankly into space.
So, I wonder how Toys for Bob felt that their wish was granted, that they could finally make a version of Unholy War with a story mode.
Maybe this was the reason why they had their logo change into the one with the burping clouds.
Yeah, so they could stand apart from that. Again, yeah, that's the thing though. They were expecting Gundam, not this.
Yeah, and okay, I do get what you mean, Tio. I still would argue that Gundam probably would have been the smarter thing to go with, considering how popular Gundam is even to this day.
Also, Dwibs, was the tornado enemy in Pandemonium?
I think so.
But you should
I don't recall a tornado enemy in Unholy War, now that you mention
I was talking about Pandemonium as a result.
I think they got that from Pandemonium. I haven't gotten that far into the game, but I'm pretty sure it is from Pandemonium.
But yeah, like I was saying...
Well, remember, Dwibs, Alan Hahn taught us in the 90s that tornadoes are serial killers.
So what? Toys for Bob got their inspiration for picking that from Twister.
Sure, why not? It's a Western developer, so it is a possibility.
Yeah, that basically means you can't pick this dipshit. Okay, it doesn't. I'm pretty sure it doesn't say that exactly, but you know what I mean. Okay.
Moving on.
Those icons there. Some of them mean skip to the next level. Some let you attack enemies using crystal powers, like in Unholy War, and others are like skip and
so
then you would save and load.
So probably, if they were to make a Little Witching Mischiefs equivalent for today, with probably they would have something like Do Re Mi.
Ojamajo Do Re Mi, Mermaid Melody.
The criteria for this basically it has to be from Toad.
Hey, imagine something from Mermaid Drive to you.
No. Talking specifically the Mahou Shoujo genre. For extra stuff, let's add Madoka.
Honestly, her pose seems more like to me. She's like an Olympic athlete, like who does
Idea.
who.
That's the thing, Pedro. There is okay. I didn't mention it for the sake of it, but there is an actual taunt in the Dark Souls game, but it's literally identical to that.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Miyazaki grew up with this game and wanted to reference that.
You know, Tia, regarding magical girl stuff, you do know that means that technically school days in Higurashi could count as well.
that's the thing,
Oh, it's
too.
not really my whole shoujo Jova. That one is more slice of life with a mystery sign to it. But by that logic, Jova,
Kira!
Part 4 of JoJo should be a Mahou shoujo, which is not.
Sure, why
Well, that's the
not?
thing, too. Well, that's the thing too. Like for the kind of games that he makes, Miyazaki's a surprise. And by that I mean Hidetaka Miyazaki, just to make sure there's no confusion.
Yeah.
He's a surprisingly pretty cheerful and cool guy.
Oh, he is.
So it doesn't surprise me. It wouldn't even surprise me all that much. But because basically, to give you an idea, Shiroi, when you take a look at the Dark Souls and the streams that you guys make, the creator's personality doesn't really reflect the games he makes at all. Like he's basically the polar opposite of what you would expect a person who makes a game like that to be.
Well, again, I did mention to them that he grew up reading a lot of Western books, but since he could not understand English entirely, he always got fascinated and he himself filled the blanks on its own, which led to the nature of Dark Souls game. Go on, Dwibs.
I gotta love the icon of the enemies on the top right when you're fighting them. They tried so hard to make those Unholy War characters look as anime-esque as they could.
Isn't that kind of the whole reason we're gonna have Elden Ring? Because he's a big fan of Game of Thrones, apparently.
That too, which is why he got the evil Santa that is George R. R. Martin for writing. Finish the fucking book! Jesus Christ!
Hey, Tia,
Give us a better ending,
Hey,
please.
Tia, which do you think will get finished first? That or One Piece?
Probably A Song of Ice and Fire. Probably One Piece. Oda has declared that One Piece is leading to its final arc anyway, so I have no doubt. Although I wonder if he's gonna do something like Kishimoto did and have a successor series like 20 years later with successor characters.
Oh, hang on, what's the tornado doing?
That tornado is carrying a magical girl.
Whee!
Yeah, it just blows me further away.
Brilliant.
If you're wondering what the mana does, basically it lets you recruit new. It lets you put new party members on the board, and lets you use some of your powers or.
Again, kind of like in Unholy War, where the control point did function like that.
And from your base, you can heal your party members. Either one or all of them at once, depending on.
I'm still baffled that despite me and Pedro having the more knowledge about tactical RPGs, is Dwibs the one who brought them first here.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is okay. It's like I said before. Basically, you know how a lot of people are very interested in how Japanese games are localized for the West.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the opposite. I'm more fascinated at what happens when it's the other way around, because it's the least heard if we compare the two.
Mm-hmm.
Like how
And it tends to be one of the more weird things too.
Yeah. I mean, a character like Crash Bandicoot being popular in Japan, I could get. But turning a game about harsh war into basically a magical girl crossover, that's
Honestly, Dwibs, it's more common than you think.
I mean, if this game were made, if something like this were done today, I could see them turning Unholy War into, say, a Madoka Magica game.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that if there's one thing the Japanese puzzle game genre has taught me, is that everything in Japan has a mandate of put in cute anime girls.
Yes.
Yeah. I just never thought I just never thought it would be have anime magical girls fight a giant piranha fish from a western game.
Okay. How about this? Here's how it probably went. Dwibs, like he'll be Twist for Bob, I'll be Bandai. Put in some cute anime girls.
Who even are these people?
Put in some cute anime girls.
But I only really
Cute anime girls.
recognize
Oh,
one of them.
We're gonna give you a free Dakimakura in exchange.
Oh, I think Bandai did give him a free game. Oh, it's my favorite character from Unholy War.
But
Okay.
Transporting creatures.
That is true, right?
No, it's transporting. It's the creatures that can teleport.
Yeah, the flaming girl.
And yeah, you're given more time to fight the bosses compared to the regular books.
why is there cat noises though? I don't see any cats.
Basically, Siri,
Aqua
this-
as a cat minion.
Akko
Okay.
is a cat minion that you can use to attack the enemy.
Oh, so
And
it's
there we
kinda
go.
like- Okay. So it's kind of like so it's kind of like how Renoa attacks enemies with her dog.
Yeah, by shooting poor Angelo.
Yes. And they came out the same year.
Just be glad
Yeah.
Shiri Beperu did not show the other Angelo's attacks. They can get pretty nasty.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
Yes.
Yeah. So join us in the next part where we continue this weird excursion.